Good evening, friends. Welcome once again to a presentation in the final events of Bible prophecy. Our topic tonight is In Search for the True Church. What a question that is, in search for the true church. What a quest that would be, to find out about the true church of God. Does God have a true church? Why is there so many denominations in our world today? That's the question that's asked by thousands of people around the world. Why so many denominations? You know, people choose a church today. They go to a church because maybe that church is a popular church. Everybody goes to the church, so I'll go too. Maybe they choose a church because, well, it's their family church. They've been born into that church. Maybe it's just a handy church. It's up around the corner. It's easy to get to. Maybe it's a huge church. Sometimes there's people in our world, they like going to what they call mega churches, where there's not just hundreds, but there's thousands of people. But friends, why should we choose a church? Why is there so many churches? Wouldn't it be easier if there was just one church? Today, people are totally confused as to know which church to join. People are totally confused at why there's so many religious movements around the world today. And they come to the conclusion, well, they think, well, look, there's so many churches, there's so many religions, there must be many paths, and there's one heaven, and we'll all get there in the end. You've probably heard that before. But friends, does God have a true church? Does God have many churches, or does he have a church? You know, Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 5 gives us a clue that God doesn't have hundreds of religions and hundreds of churches. It says in Ephesians 4 and verse 5 that there is one Lord, there is one faith, and there is one baptism. Is there a true church? If so, which one is it? Now, of course, friends, everybody believes that their church is the true church. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why would you be going to a church if you didn't think it was a true church? Why would you go to a church and say, I believe the church up the road is a true church, but I'm going to go here? If you knew there was a true church, you would go to that true church. And everybody believes their church is the true church. And tonight, friends, this lecture is going to be a challenge, not only to you, but also to me. Every one of us in this room tonight, we will be challenged. Let me assure you of that. Because we're going to find that God is raising up in these last days a people, and he calls them the remnant. Now, everybody believes their church is, of course, the true church. And you've probably come to the realization through this series of meetings that I myself am a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. Cornerstone Ministries is not a Seventh-day Adventist ministry in the sense that it's not supported by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but as a Christian, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, he's just going to tell us that his church is the true church. That's what you're thinking, isn't it, friends? You're thinking he's just going to tell us, well, his church is a true church, because that's why he goes there. But friends, listen to me tonight. It is not at this point so much an issue of being connected with a church, but an issue of being connected with Jesus Christ and the truth. Everything we have been covering in previous lectures is dealing with truth versus error. Truth versus error. Friends, tonight, first and foremost, God wants you to be connected to the truth, not just a church building. You know, too many make the mistake in our world today. They go to the church to find the truth. We don't go to the church to find the truth. Notice this statement on the screen. I like this. It says, as an eternal principle, you do not go to the church to find the truth. You go to the Bible to find the truth. And when you find the truth, you look for a church that teaches the truth. Doesn't that make sense, friends? Doesn't it make sense? You and I should go to the Bible to find the truth. And when you and I find the truth, then we should look for a church that teaches the truth. Because to be the true church of God, in our quest for the search for the true church, to be the true church of God, my friends, you must have a foundation of truth. Without the foundation of truth, you can't be the true church of God. It's as simple as that. 1 Timothy 3 verse 15 tells us very clearly about the true church. It says, the church of the living God, the pillar and ground of the truth. Friends, the foundation for being the true church of God, the church not of just God, but the living God, the church of the living God, my friends, has a foundation, and that foundation is the pillar and the ground of the truth. Friends, if you do not have the truth in your church, you're simply not the true church. Doesn't that make sense? Isn't that an honest thing to say? It's not a matter of how big your church is or how fantastic the worship is or how great the musicians or the preachers are. The foundation of the church of God is the pillar and the ground of the truth. Friends, there are good and bad in every church, including my own church. There's a rotten apple in every basket, isn't there? But the point of this lecture tonight, friends, the point of this lecture tonight is to reveal that God right now around this world is gathering together a people in these last days that will stand as a united front and be faithful to Jesus Christ. God is gathering today a people that are going to come together and stand as a united front against the beast and the mark of the beast and the powers of Satan. How? By living and upholding the truth. And friends, this lecture tonight is in no wise an attack against other churches or against other Christians. Every church around this world has faithful, God-fearing Christians that love the Lord. It's not an attack upon churches or upon Christians, but it is a challenge for every one of us tonight to come into line with the remnant church of God in these last days. And friends, as I've been stating night after night through this series of meetings, at the end it's going to be very easy. There will be but two groups. And at the end of time, friends, the Bible is going to show us tonight, there will be but two universal churches. Two churches. There isn't going to be hundreds. The whole world, friends, is going to polarize into one of two groups. And these two groups, these two churches, are found in the book of Revelation. One's found in Revelation 12, the other is found in Revelation chapter 17. And they're symbolized by women. You know, as you go into the Bible and you start studying Bible prophecy, you discover that a woman represents a church in Bible prophecy. In Revelation chapter 12, there's a delicate, comely woman. In Revelation chapter 17, there is a woman dressed like a harlot. She's called a whore. These represent two churches at the end of time. Now, before we go any further, let's just prove that a woman in Bible prophecy represents the church. You know, Jesus Christ himself, as he walked the earth, he often referred to himself as the bridegroom and his people as the bride. His church was the bride, the woman. In Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 2, it says, I have likened Zion to a comely and delicate woman. So Zion is like a comely and delicate woman. Now, of course, who is Zion? Zion is the church, God's people. Isaiah 51 verse 16 tells us that. Zion, thou art my people. So the church is like a comely and a delicate woman. It's God's bride. And this church is symbolized by a woman. Yeah, in 2 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 2, Paul said something very interesting to the church at Corinth. He said this, For I am jealous over you with godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ. He's saying to the church at Corinth, I've espoused you to one husband, that's Jesus Christ. I want you to be a pure bride. You see, friends, the woman represents the church. Revelation chapter 19, verse 7 and 8 also gives us a clue about the woman being the bride of Christ in the church of God. Revelation 19, 7 and 8, it says, For the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife has made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. Here we find that the Lamb, Jesus Christ, is getting married, and his wife has made herself ready. Herself, it's a woman, obviously. And who is the woman? It's the saints. That's God's church, friends. A woman in Bible prophecy is very clearly represented a church, represents a church. Now in Revelation we have two women. Two women are brought to view. Two churches. One is a faithful woman. One is a harlot woman. We are going to identify both of these churches tonight. As I said, there will be two churches at the end. It's going to be real easy for you and I to choose. Two universal movements taking place in the world. We are now going to identify the first woman, and we're going to work on, for a start, the one found in Revelation chapter 17, the harlot church. Revelation chapter 17, verses 1 to 5, it describes this woman for us. Revelation chapter 17, beginning in verse 1, the Bible reads, And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-coloured beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads